Okay, so we're going to start talking about some of the Python data types. We've already talked about some. We've already talked about the string, which is where I'm going to start here. But we're going to dig into the string a little more in this video, and then we'll look at some other data types that we haven't seen before. So I have a string variable here. I've called the variable name, and I put the name Andy Warhol in there. I might have said this before in a previous video, but this is called a string literal, like when you hard code a value into your program. So we have a string literal here, and that value is being assigned to this name variable. Strings are what we call sequence types, and I have a graphic to show you here. So strings are sequence types in that the characters in the string are numbered or indexed behind the scenes. So this is a zero-based indexing system. That's kind of hard to get used to. So I want you to imagine behind the scenes. You know, a string, we have said this before, a string is just a string of characters all strung together like beads on a necklace, and each of those characters is numbered behind the scenes or indexed. So the A is the first one, obviously, and that has an index of 0 because it's zero-based. So this particular string, Andy Warhol, has 11 characters, right, numbered or indexed 0 through 10. Okay? That's an important thing to remember about strings. So we have our string in memory. Let me, well, you know what, to access individual elements of the string, often, I do want you to know that word element in this context. And this is going to apply to later data types that we talk about too. Like each position in the string is called an element you can think of. So the A is in the 0 element, the N is in the 1 element, and so on. Okay, so I will be using that terminology. So to access the individual parts of the string or the individual elements, you can just reference that with square brackets. So let's say I want to print the A, which is in the element 0, or it has an index of 0. There's my capital A. Okay. If I want to print any other random element here, I don't know, whatever's in 8, that's getting towards the end. So that's the H. Okay. So you can access the individual parts of a string or elements of a string just by doing these square brackets or referencing the index in square brackets. Okay, so just want to show you there's this len function that we can use to get the length of the string. So I have the line of code here. I'm going to use an F string. Okay, you know what, let me run this and then we'll talk about why it works. So there are 11 characters in the name Andy Warhol. So here, what I've done, I've used the F string technique that we've talked about before. In the placeholder here, I've called upon the len function, which will return the number of characters in a string. Okay, and then the len function requires from us the name of the string, or the name of the variable, the string that we're measuring, and that is the name in this program. So yeah, we have the len function, and I'm providing the name. You know, another term I want you to know is, okay, so this is a function. This function's job is to give us the length of characters in a string. And he's like, sure, I'll do it. What's the string? I need to know that. And that need to know data is called an argument. This is important terminology. I'm going to use it a lot. So we have a function. Often functions require arguments. Those are pieces of information that the function needs to do its job. Okay, so yeah, so we have the len function passing the name as an argument, and then we get the 11 in this case because there are 11 characters in Andy Warhol. Okay, so this is kind of subtle, but I want your book does mention this. Strings are what we call immutable. Well, I'm going to write that as a comment here. Okay, strings are what we call immutable in memory, meaning they cannot be changed. Okay, hang on here. No, just, I'm going to say name equals Andrew Warhol. That was Andy Warhol's birth name. Okay, so I've changed it here in my program. And now I'm going to throw that to the output window. Okay, and it worked. It seems like it worked just fine. Now, what's going on here behind the scenes? Strings are what we call immutable, meaning they cannot be changed. And you may be thinking, hey, wait a minute, you just changed the value. You changed the value of name. It worked fine. Here's the thing. What's going on behind the scenes is that a brand new variable called name was created and got the new value. And then this old one was just discarded in memory. Okay, so I mean, to us, it did seem like I was able to change the value, but in memory, I wasn't. That original was just discarded or garbage collected, and then the revised name went into its own brand new variable, which itself cannot be changed. So strings are what we call immutable, and that's what that means when you see that in your book. Okay, just another term I want you to know is concatenation. Concatenation, okay, it's pronounced just like it's spelled. And this is really like a joining of strings together. So for example, let's say I have a variable called first, and we'll say that's Andy. And then the last is Warhol. Okay, so now I've got the names in separate variables, okay? First and last. So we can say full equals first plus last. Okay, this is what we call concatenation. And when you're not adding together in a mathematical sense, but you're joining. You're like joining those strings together, connecting them together, like beads on a necklace, right? So the problem here is that it's all squished together. I didn't account for that space. All right, so I'm going to have to, if you want the space, you have to concatenate the space into there as well. Okay, so you just add your plus signs. It'll just, join them all together. And there it is.